Guys, welcome back to another video. It's Saturday, the markets are closed obviously. So today I wanted to look and reflect on how I made $1,000 in premium from selling options in the last week, which is probably the most I've ever made in the week. I still personally am not sure entirely how I did it, but we're going to look at some individual trades and then also do some forward looking into next week. And before we get started, I've been documenting me trying to sell options for some extra income for some time now. And if you enjoy this content, consider subscribing. That way you don't miss any videos in the future. If we hop over to my spreadsheet that I use to keep track of all of the options that I sell, on the right here, we can see my total monthly return. And this is calculated by all of the premium that I've gained from selling all of these different options, minus the cost to close if I closed any and paid to close them, and also adding capital appreciation if there is any. In our case for the week, no. And that would be like if I sold a put on a stock and I was assigned that stock and I sold a call on that stock after being assigned, that was also assigned. The appreciation there, if there is any, would also get added to the return. If you've watched my videos before, a lot of these tickers are probably no surprise. We see Sofi, a little bit of MSTU, which is a higher risk, higher reward play when selling options. We see some SPY because I've been trading the wheel on SPY in my Fidelity account, and so far that's been working out for me. Some NVIDIA and even a Chipotle thrown in here. And just at a glance, it looks like it's pretty even between puts and calls. Typically, I end up selling more puts than I do calls. That's just the nature of the game. Most of my calls expire worthless or I end up rolling them. But I mentioned at the end of last month, I want to start being a little more aggressive selling the wheel on SoFi stock. So I started selling more calls on SoFi. We could see at the start of the week, I sold a couple covered calls at a strike price of $16, and those ended up expiring worthless come yesterday. And this ended up making me $40 from those two covered calls. Here's another $17 strike call. I did this when SoFi spiked. I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, but this made me another $16. And this one doesn't expire until next Friday, so we'll have to see how this one plays out. But the fact of the matter is, if I see any spikes in SoFi in the next week, I will likely be selling covered calls on that stock. Before we break down how much I made from each individual stock in the last week, if you've come to this point and you're a little confused about selling options, I do have a course, it'll be linked down below, where we talk about selling puts, selling calls, the components of selling those options, the wheel strategy, delta, buying the close, rolling, a ton of examples, things that I personally do. If you're interested, it'll be in the description. I appreciate you even considering it. I try to make it affordable. I've seen what other people are charging for courses, and I think it's crazy. So I just wanted to put this together to share everything I've learned and that you can use potentially in the future too. And the spreadsheet is also linked down below if you want to go check that out. But we can group by ticker symbol, and this makes it easy to see how much I made from each underlying security, selling options on that. So from Chipotle, $54, they had earnings this week. I ended up rolling a put that I sold in January that was expiring yesterday to this put right here that it's expiring next Friday. And I made an additional $54 rolling that put at the same strike price that the previous put was at. MSTU, I've made a total of $141. NVIDIA, this was one that I sold a put, and this should actually be a put, not a call, because all of these are puts. This is one where I've sold an initial put, and I started rolling that up for even more premium as the week went on, and NVIDIA went up in price. And from doing that, $201 total from NVIDIA last week. SoFi, we see a combination of selling calls and selling puts for $269, and then the SPY, I've just been selling covered calls on the SPY, $417. And the SPY is easily turning into my favorite ETF to sell options on. And I only wish it was cheaper because the SPY is just so expensive. You have to have so much collateral to sell puts on the stock. And then inversely, you have to have 100 shares, which is also super expensive, obviously, to sell covered calls on the stock. And it's unfortunate because it is diversified and it does offer great premiums, daily options as well. In regards to next week, I'm going to continue selling calls on the SPY and also trying to sell a few more calls on SoFi. Also, this NVIDIA put I bought to close for $5, so I'm also going to look into next week on selling another put on NVIDIA. I'm not trying to sell any more additional puts on SoFi because I now currently have 3,600 shares, plus some calls that I bought that are far out in expiration and in the money. So I think I have enough SoFi to keep me satisfied and more. So I'm likely just going to focus on trying to liquidate some of these shares by selling some covered calls. So stay tuned if you want to follow along and see what I do the rest of the week. If you're interested in learning more about selling options, the course will be linked down below. And I hope to see you guys in a future video.